The sun was not yet up, but Julie's room was already bright. It was not the light of the sun, it was the blue light of her phone. This light was the first thing her eyes saw every single day, even before she looked at her own face in the mirror. Every morning, the ritual was the same. Before saying good morning to herself, before stretching her tired muscles, and before drinking a glass of water, Julie checked her notifications. She scrolled. Her thumb moved quickly over the glass screen, looking for something to make her feel excited. But usually it just made her feel small. Swipe, swipe, click. On the screen was Sarah. Sarah was a girl Julie went to high school with. In the photo, Sarah was standing on a white beach in Bali. The water was a perfect turquoise, so clear it looked like glass. She was wearing a beautiful yellow dress that cost more than Julie's monthly rent. She was smiling, her teeth perfectly white, her hair blowing gently in the wind, as if a professional fan was following her. The caption said, "Living my best life. So blessed. #grateful. #travel. #no filter." Julie looked down at her own bed. Her sheets were old and a bit wrinkled. Her room was small, and the wallpaper was peeling in the corner. She felt a heavy weight in her chest, a mix of sadness and boredom. "I am so bored," Julie whispered to the empty room. "My life is so gray. Sarah is always traveling. She is always eating exotic fruit and wearing designer clothes. She is always happy. Why can't I be like that? What am I doing wrong?" Julie continued to scroll, driven by a strange habit. Next was Mark. Mark was a former colleague from her first job. He had posted a photo of a new, shiny black car parked in front of a modern house. He was holding a glass of expensive champagne, looking confident. Caption, "Hard work pays off. New toy for a new year. #success. #new car. #goals." Julie thought about her own car. It was 10 years old, painted a dull silver, and it made a strange high-pitched noise every time she turned left. She felt nul, useless. She felt like everyone was winning a grand race, and she was still at the starting line, sitting in the mud with a broken shoe. At work, Julie sat in her small office. She was a graphic designer, a job she used to love, but today she couldn't create anything. Every time she looked at a blank page on her computer, her mind was full of the bright, colorful images from her phone. She felt that her own designs weren't aesthetic enough. She looked at the influencers during her coffee break. There was Maya, a fitness coach with 2 million followers. Maya posted a video of her breakfast, a bowl of colorful fruit, rare seeds, and a glass of bright green juice. Everything looked like a piece of art, perfectly lit by the morning sun. Maya looked perfect in her tight gym clothes. There was not a single drop of sweat on her face, just a perfect, healthy glow. Julie looked at her own lunch, a simple ham sandwich in a plastic bag and a cup of cold, bitter coffee. The bread was a bit dry. "Everything I do is ugly," Julie thought, feeling a wave of shame. "The food I eat is ugly. The clothes I wear are fast fashion and old. My life is just a boring series of tasks. Wake up, work, eat, sleep. Where is the magic? Where is the glow?" She started to feel jealous. Jealousy is a strange feeling. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It is like a small fire in the heart that burns slowly, consuming your peace. She didn't want Sarah or Mark to be unhappy, but she desperately wanted to feel as happy as they looked. She wanted the perfect life that existed inside the 5-inch screen of her phone. She began to believe the big lie of social media. The lie is simple but powerful. What you see is the whole truth. Julie spent her entire afternoon comparing her inside, her doubts, her tiredness, her messy kitchen, with everyone else's outside. She knew her own problems intimately. She knew about her unpaid bills, her fear of the future, and the dark circles under her eyes. But she only saw the best moments of others. She was comparing her behind-the-scenes footage with their highlight reel, and of course, she was losing. On Thursday evening, as Julie was heating up a frozen dinner, she received a message. It was from Chloe. Chloe was the girl that everyone in their town wanted to be. She was naturally beautiful, she had a handsome boyfriend named Thomas who looked like a model, and she worked for a famous fashion magazine in the city. Her Instagram was a dream. Every photo looked like it belonged in a museum or a high-end magazine. She posted pictures of giant bouquets of flowers, expensive dinners at restaurants with no prices on the menu, and many I love you posts with Thomas. Hey Julie, I'm in town for a few days. Do you want to grab a coffee tomorrow afternoon? I haven't seen you in ages and I miss our chats. Julie hesitated. Her heart started to beat faster, but not with joy. She felt nervous. If I go, Julie thought, looking at her chipped nail polish, she will see that I am not successful. She will see my cheap shoes and the stress in my eyes. She is so perfect and polished. I will feel even worse standing next to her. But Julie also remembered the old Chloe, the girl who used to laugh until she couldn't breathe and who loved eating greasy pizza. That was before the apps and the filters changed the way they saw the world. Okay, Julie typed, her fingers shaking slightly. Let's meet at 4 p.m. at the Willow Cafe. Julie arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early. She went to the bathroom and tried to fix her hair in the mirror, but it felt hopeless. She felt like an imposter, a normal person trying to pretend she belonged in the world of someone like Chloe. Then she saw Chloe walking down the street through the large cafe window. Chloe looked exactly like her photos. She was wearing a long, elegant beige coat and tall leather boots. She looked like a queen. But as she got closer to the door, Julie noticed something the camera never showed. Chloe wasn't smiling. Her shoulders were hunched, and she was staring at her phone with a look of pure stress, her forehead wrinkled in deep lines. However, the moment Chloe opened the door and saw Julie, her face changed instantly. She put on a big, bright, camera-ready smile. Julie, oh my God, you look amazing. It is so good to see you, Chloe cried, hugging her tightly. They sat down at a small table and ordered lattes. For the first 20 minutes, the conversation felt like reading a social media feed. It was exhausting. My job is just incredible, Chloe said, waving her hand. We went to Paris last week for a secret shoot. It was so glamorous. We stayed at the Ritz. And Thomas and I are looking for a bigger apartment in the center. Life is just so busy and fast, you know? Sometimes I forget to breathe. Julie nodded, feeling a familiar burn of jealousy again. I saw the photos of Paris, Julie said softly. The one with the rose petals on the bed? It looked like a movie. You are so lucky, Chloe. You have the perfect life. Sometimes I look at your posts and I feel like I'm doing everything wrong. My life feels so small compared to yours. Chloe suddenly stopped talking. She picked up her silver spoon and began to stir her coffee, round and round. She didn't look at Julie anymore. The bright smile disappeared, and the silence at the table lasted a long time. It was a heavy, uncomfortable silence. Then, to Julie's horror, Chloe's eyes began to fill with tears. One large tear fell directly into her latte. Chloe, What's wrong? Did I say something bad? Julie asked, leaning forward, worried. Chloe took a deep, shaky breath. She reached into her expensive leather bag and pulled out a tissue. She wiped her eyes, but more tears came. Her mascara started to run, just a little bit. Julie, Chloe whispered, her voice cracking. My life is a mess. It is a complete, beautiful lie. Julie sat back in her chair, shocked. What do you mean? The photos? The trips? The magazine? Thomas? Paris was a nightmare, Chloe said, her voice shaking with real emotion. I worked 18 hours a day in the cold rain. My boss screamed at me in front of everyone until I cried in a dark bathroom stall. I was so exhausted and hungry that I actually fainted on the second day. But I had to take that photo near the Eiffel Tower. I had to put on that dress, stop crying, and look blessed, because the magazine needed the social media engagement. I spent 3 hours that night editing that photo on my phone just to hide the dark circles and the red eyes from crying. I was miserable, but the world saw a dream. Julie listened, her mouth open. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. And Thomas, Chloe continued, wiping her nose, we haven't spoken a real, honest word to each other in 2 weeks. We live in the same house, but we are like strangers. We only talk about which photos will get the most likes. He is unhappy, I am unhappy, but we stay together because the followers love us as a power couple. If we break up, I lose my fashion sponsors. I lose my brand. I cry every single night, Julie. I sit on my expensive sofa in my beautiful apartment that I can barely afford, and I feel completely alone. Chloe took out her phone. She didn't open Instagram. Instead, she opened her private photo gallery, the place where the real photos lived. Look at this, she said, sliding the phone across the table. She showed Julie a photo of a beautiful, healthy breakfast. It was the same one Julie had seen and envied weeks ago. The fruit, the seeds, the perfect lighting. Now look at the next one, Chloe said. Julie swiped. The next photo was a wide shot of the same room, taken a second later. The table was covered in dirty clothes, old mail, and half-eaten snacks. There was a pile of trash in the corner. The perfect breakfast was sitting on a tiny 1-inch clean spot on the table, surrounded by chaos and mess. I spent an hour cleaning just that 1 square inch of the table to take the photo, Chloe admitted with a tired sigh. By the time I finished the perfect setup, the food was cold and tasted terrible. I didn't even eat it. I just threw it in the trash and cried because I was so hungry and stressed. But on Instagram, people commented that I was a health queen. Chloe showed another photo. It was a candid shot of her laughing outdoors, looking free and happy. This one? Chloe said with a sad, bitter laugh. I wasn't laughing. I was actually in the middle of a huge argument with Thomas. He took 30 versions of this photo because I kept telling him the first 29 made my legs look fat. He was so angry he left the house right after the shutter clicked. I spent the rest of the evening alone, but the caption I wrote was, "Laughter is the best medicine with my favorite person." Julie felt a strange mixture of emotions. She felt deep sadness for her friend, but she also felt a massive weight lifting off her own shoulders. The perfect world was breaking into 1,000 pieces. So, it's all fake? Julie asked, her voice quiet. Not everything, Chloe said, looking at her hands. But it is a very edited version of the truth. It is the best 1% of my life, filtered, polished, and lied about. The other 99% is just as messy, sad, and boring as anyone else's. But nobody wants to see the 99%. They want the dream, and trying to build that dream every day is slowly killing my soul. Julie reached across the table and held Chloe's hand. The skin was warm and real. I spent so many months being jealous of you, Chloe. I felt unhappy every single morning because I thought my life was less than yours. I thought I was a failure.
Chloe looked at her with soft eyes. And I was jealous of you, Julie. Of me? Julie laughed, thinking of her old car and her ham sandwich. Why on earth would you be jealous of me? Because you are allowed to be real, Chloe said. When I saw that post of yours last month, the one of that messy painting you made, I felt so envious. I thought, I wish I could just do something for fun, even if it's messy, without worrying about what the internet thinks. You are allowed to be imperfect. You have freedom. I am a prisoner of my own perfection. I have to be a doll every day. Julie realized something very important that afternoon. The comparison trap was a prison with invisible bars. Social media is like a store window on a fancy street. A store puts the most beautiful clothes in the window under bright, flattering lights, but the back of the store is full of cardboard boxes, dust, noise, and tired workers. You cannot compare the back of your store, your private struggles, with someone else's front window. It isn't a fair fight. Don't compare your inside with someone else's outside, Julie whispered, repeating a phrase she had once read but never understood until now. Exactly, Chloe said, finally smiling a small, genuine smile. The truth is, everyone is struggling with something. Everyone has bad hair days. Everyone has bills they can't pay. Everyone feels lonely and ugly sometimes. But the phone is a filter that removes the human parts of us, and the human parts are the most important. After the coffee, Julie walked home. She didn't call an Uber. She wanted to walk. The sun was setting and the sky was a soft, bruised purple. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful. She didn't take a photo of it to show the world. She just stood there and looked at it until the colors faded. She felt the cool evening air on her face and the solid ground under her feet. When she got home, she looked at her phone sitting on the kitchen table. For the first time, she felt a different power over it. It was just a tool made of metal and glass, not a mirror of her soul or a report card of her life. She went to her Instagram. She looked at Sarah's photo in Bali again. This time, the burn of jealousy wasn't there. She thought, I hope Sarah is actually having fun, but maybe she is tired from the long flight. Maybe she is worried about her job. I wish her well, but her life is her journey and my life is mine. We are both just people. Julie decided to make a radical change. She went through her following list. She unfollowed the fitness coaches who made her feel ashamed of her body. She unfollowed the success gurus who made her feel poor. Instead, she followed artists who showed their mistakes, poets who wrote about sadness, and people who shared the real parts of life. She took her phone and put it in a drawer in the hallway. She didn't need it. She took out a thick book she had wanted to read for a long time but didn't have time for because she was always scrolling. She made herself a cup of tea, normal tea in an old mug. For the first time in months, her room was not lit by a cold blue light. It was lit by a warm yellow lamp that made the shadows look soft and cozy. Julie felt a deep, quiet sense of peace. She was not Null. She was a human being, with a real, messy, complicated, and beautiful life. And she realized that being real was much better than being perfect. Months later, Julie posted a photo. It was not filtered. It was not aesthetic. It was a blurry photo of her old silver car with a completely flat tire on a rainy Tuesday. Caption: Life is not always easy or pretty. Today was a long, cold day and I am tired. But I am grateful for the journey, flat tires and all. #real life, #human, #no filters needed. The post didn't get 1,000 likes. It didn't go viral. It got 24 likes. But one of those likes was from Chloe, who is now working at a small, quiet library and looked much happier. Chloe commented, "Thank you for being real, Julie. You look beautiful in your honesty." Julie smiled, felt a spark of true connection, and closed the app. She had a real life to live, and she didn't want to miss a single second of the unfiltered truth. Key message: don't compare your inside with someone else's outside. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. It really helps the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.